What up, everybody, and welcome to Baz on Blades. My name is Baz, and I talk about blades, and today we're going to jump right into this review. I'm super excited about this knife, and I'm just going to make hot, sweaty, sweet, passionate love to this knife all through the review. So if that offends you, you might want to turn this off right now, but if it's strangely exciting to you, definitely stick around. This is an awesome, awesome knife. What we've got is the newest iteration, the third generation of the Maxace Knives Goliath Flipper Folder. Maxace Knives, another one of those high-end Chinese manufacturers. They tend to specialize in what I consider to be XL size knives, 4 inches or more on the blade length. They've got knives all the way from your classic sort of D2, G10 price level, all the way up through what I would consider to be mid-tech type price. And the Goliath has been a very, very popular model for them, and now in its third and I think best iteration. Let's see here. I did pick this knife up at White Mountain Knives. Thank you to Justin over at White Mountain Knives. His price on this was $130 for the standard models. And after a 10% discount code, you're at $117 shipped to your door. That is beyond a fantastic deal. And I recommend you right now go over to White Mountain Knives or whatever your favorite dealer is and grab one of these. They are going to sell out quickly, the first shipment of them. So, like I say, this is an XL type knife and blade length in excess of 4 inches. You're looking at a 4.5 inch blade length. That's 11.5 centimeters. Your blade stock thickness, 158 thousandths of an inch or 4 millimeters. Blade width at the widest, 1.4 inches or slightly greater than 36 millimeters. Handle length, 5 5/8 of an inch or 14 centimeters. Handle thickness, 670 thousandths of an inch or 17 millimeters. Your handle width at the widest at the pivot point is 1.5 inches or slightly greater than 37 millimeters. Closed width on this, not too bad for this size of knife, 1.78 inches or slightly greater than 45 millimeters. Overall length, 10 inches exactly or 25.5 centimeters. Stock pin diameter, 195 thousandths of an inch or 5 millimeters. Fantastic when the stock pin diameter is greater than the blade stock thickness. I like that very much. Behind the edge thickness on this full flat ground 4 millimeter blade is 16 thousandths of an inch. Very slicey. That is 0.4 millimeters. Handle to blade ratio is a highlight of this design that I did not expect. It is 0.80, meaning the blade length is 80% of the handle length, and that is absolutely fantastic for any folding knife and absolutely the best I've ever seen in an XL size knife. We're going to bring out some comparison knives later and you will see firsthand what I mean by that. The weight on this actually is not too bad for a 10-inch knife, 6.7 ounces or 190 grams. We're going to get into materials. There's some special stuff going on here in materials. Let's take a look at this blade and wait a second. What is that line on that blade, Baz on Blades? That is a lamination line. This blade, even though I have not seen it advertised or mentioned by anybody, is a San Mai type of blade. It is a laminated blade with 3 layers. Let's get up here at the spine, and you can, as the light plays across the spine of the blade, you can definitely see the layers there. And of course, you see them as it's ground out here and then etched. I do not know what the cladding layers on this are. The core layer is SLD-Magic. It is a Hitachi produced cold rolled tool steel. I'm going to guess that it's approximately the same price point as D2 and K110, which was used in the previous generations of this knife. And I don't know a lot about this steel. I did do some research. It's not widely used as a blade steel. The information that Hitachi has for workable hardness, they're saying 60 to 62. I believe that is for die use in tool and steel. And I have seen mentioned that this steel is good at 62 to 64 Rockwell for blade steels. And I believe that Maxace, with that thin behind the edge thickness, they have gone with a conservative 60 Rockwell on this. So I am going to expect to see maybe the performance of D2 with some slight improvements in certain areas. One of those areas is in wear resistance. The SLD-Magic is reputed to have a slight increase in wear resistance that will be edge retention over D2. It is also said to have an increase in performance on impact deformation, which is part of toughness. I do not know how it performs as far as impact resistance and cracking or chipping, but I'm going to guess that it's going to be D2-ish, slightly better. We will see as we use this. The one draw, sort of negative on this blade steel is it has far less chromium than D2. D2 is considered semi-stainless at 11.5% chromium. This SLD-Magic only has 8% chromium in it. It is not stainless. I don't even know if that qualifies for semi-stainless, so you will very much want to keep your blade clean and coated with some sort of corrosion resistor. I use Tough Glide. It goes on wet, dries off, and it leaves behind a dry film. I've never had any issue with it at all on any carbon steel, semi-stainless steel, anything. This is what I'm going to say about this choice of SLD-Magic in the third generation of the Goliath. I like it. It's going to give you the same sort of performance range plus some slight improvements over the D2 K110 used in previous generations. You're going to take a little bit of a hit on corrosion resistance, and you'll have to be careful there, but look at that. Look at that. Okay, it is so, when you snap this blade out, you very much see that it is a laminate blade. It adds so much character, so much cool factor to this. And at the price point that it's at, that you're not paying any more for that over the normal D2 K110, I think it's actually a very good addition to this line. I like it. We'll have to see how it performs, but going by the numbers, I think it's going to be a great addition for this. Not going to call it an improvement, really, not yet, but I like it. So let's get into the handle here, material-wise. You notice by the weight of this knife, it's 6.7 ounces or 190 grams at 10 inches overall. There is some weight reduction going on here in two different ways. First, there is stock removal as it is machined on the inside. The liners they are through machined. If you take the handle scales off, which I have, it is skeletonized under there with large cutout weight reduction. The second thing is a lot of titanium. Not only are the bolsters titanium and the backspace are titanium, the pocket clip titanium, but the liners are also titanium, and that surprised the hell out of Baz on Blades. I thought this was using steel liners with bolted on titanium parts, but it is not. Look at the back of this lock bar here. You see the screw going through. It's going to affix the hardened steel lock face insert that is absolutely necessary when using titanium liners or frames. I was really surprised at that. I honestly thought this used steel liners at this price point, this size. I was sure that it used steel liners. That was very much a pleasant surprise. So you got all kinds of titanium in here. The only steel you've got is in your small parts. All these screws are beautifully made, beautifully finished. They are all T8. Everything is T8 on this. Well, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if that screw holding that lock face insert is not also T8. And look at the back side of this bolster on the pocket clip side. You see how it's pocket machined to clearance the head of that screw as you move the liner lock over. That's beautiful work. That is beautiful work there. So 6.7 ounces, 190 grams is it feels great. It doesn't feel, you don't pick it up and think, that's heavy. You pick it up and you're like, oh, wow, that's pretty good, for that size. It's not lightweight. Don't get me wrong. 6.7 ounces is not lightweight, but it's 10 inches overall, 25.5 centimeters overall length. I'm thinking for the price of $117 shipped to your door, the materials, I could not expect any better. And saying that, I want to look at the last material, and that is the micarta on the handle. Let's get very close to this canvas micarta. It is absolutely wonderful. It is some of the best feeling micarta I have ever felt on any import knife or American-made knife. It is as premium feeling micarta as anything I've ever felt. It is just beautifully machined, wonderful material. It's just super duper nice. All the materials on this knife are incredibly just envelope pushing at this price point at $117. So let's get into the fit and finish of this, and it's as good as anything else out there. It doesn't matter if it's Chinese made, Japanese made, American made, German made, Italian made. The primary manufacturing points for modern cutlery. This is as well made as anything at any price point. Let's look at the blade here. The grinds are beautiful. The secondary bevel is tight and right side to side. The blade finish is sublime. It is wonderful. They have gone back and etched this blade out. And it's a combination of an etch and looks like a bead blast. And I'm not sure the order they did this in. I've never done that type of finishing before, but you can see how the different steels took the finish differently. It's a much more frosted look on this softer cladding laminate than it is on the core steel. It is just a huge aesthetic win, this choice on this knife. It is a huge aesthetic win, and everything is done so well. The only markings are on the back. You get Goliath and the blade steel, the SLD-Magic. There's not any other markings on it. The front side is left sterile. It's just wonderfully ground and wonderfully finished. Going into the handle, we'll take a very close look. The finishing, the bead blast finish across that titanium is super even. Comparing the bolsters to the back spacer and the liner finish with the pocket clip finish, everything very consistent in that bead blast. Let's take a look at the fit between the scales and the bolsters here. Absolutely wonderful on this S-curve, detailing the joiner there. Just as tight on both sides. It's just very, very, very well done. Very well done. Like I said, all the small hardware is consistently finished. Everything is even. Everything is smooth. Everything is chamfered and clean on the edges. You don't see any gaps anywhere in any way. Everything is super flat. It is just wonderfully, wonderfully made. Again, $117. You could not expect more out of this knife. If you expect more at this price point, you are being unrealistic. And I'm being charitable there. You're actually just being an ass is what you are. But we'll call it unrealistic. So, fit and finish, absolutely perfect. I've got it written up here on my board, here with my info to the side, in perfect. That's what it says across all of it. Blade, handle, small parts, it just says perfect across all of them. It is absolutely wonderful. We're going to get into the action now, and it is... If that doesn't put a smile on your face right there, that is wonderful. The detent it's a lot. Let's see if we can get enough light. It is a large detent ball. And even though it is a large detent ball, the detent is not overwhelmingly hard. Once you break out of the detent hole, you lose all the sort of feel of the detent because there's so much mass swinging around that rotating mass of the blade. So it doesn't feel like a super hard detent. And I might be able to feel this thing. Let's see if I can. Okay, I can feel it. But when you go on it, it doesn't feel soft. It doesn't feel soft at all. I think what we're doing is we're just seeing the balance. The weight of the blade is sort of overwhelming what is really a very decent detent. So I've got no issue with the action at all. You don't have to do anything special to get it to just rock it out. I mean, I'm light switching, I'm push button, I'm preloading. I mean, everything is just the same. It really is a good detent. It's just sort of, it feels a little different because there's so much mass and weight behind the blade. You can see here, perfectly centered. There's absolutely zero feeling of any play of any type anywhere. I can flex it hard enough to flex the frame back here in the handle, and I'm getting no play in it at all. It came out of the box. Actually, it did not come out of the box like that. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. It came out of the box with the scariest guillotine drop shut that I've seen in a long time. This thing is on multi-row ceramic bearings, and there is a lot of weight behind that blade. When I took it out of the box and I opened and closed it, the first thing I thought is I can't hand this to somebody without warning them. Because once you get over the detent ball on this, it was just instant, no resistance drop. Just instantly. It was a little, when I say it was scary, I wasn't literally scared of it, but I would have been scared to hand it to anybody. So I tightened the pivot down. You very seldom get a knife and you're like, I've got to tighten that pivot some, and it wasn't because there was any play in it. It was centered, it had no play in it, same action. It was just way too drop shutty to even think about handing this thing to somebody. That blade right there falls on your finger at total free fall, and you're going to get cut. It's going to cut you down to the bone. So the action, I couldn't expect any more. I just keep coming back. I've got my review laid out in segments. You know, we do the measurements, then we do the materials, we do the steel, and then we do the handle materials and small parts and all of that. And then I go in and do fit and finish. And now we're in actions. We're getting ready to go into ergos and utilitarian use. And the only thing I've said about this so far is it's damn near perfect. It is damn near perfect, everything about it. And I'm going to tell you right now, before we do ergos and utility, before we leave action, I'm going to tell you the one thing that was not absolutely perfect, and that is, in my example, the pivot wanted to walk a little bit. So, I don't like that. I don't like having to carry a tool with me as I fidget with my knife and retighten it. So all I did is I pulled the male side of the pivot out. I cleaned the threads. I wrapped it with a little Teflon tape and I screwed it back together, cinched it down, zero issues after that. Your example may not have any pivot walk. That's just something that we deal with when we've got knives like this, and they're such great fidget tools. So that's the only thing that the only issue, the only anything on any level that I've found an issue with this knife. Let's talk about ergos and utilitarian use, and then we're going to get some comparison examples out here. Classic, full flat ground, drop point blade, one of the most utilitarian, useful blade profiles ever designed, ever in the history of mankind and knives. This full flat grind gives you the thin behind the edge, slicey performance level, but still thick enough up at the spine for strength. The tip is fine enough for piercing, but it's not so fine that it's dainty and frail. It is well sharpened. The tip instantly catches and pierces with zero pressure. The edge profile is even and tight to each side. You've got plenty of belly here to work with up towards the tip. You've got a long section of straight flat edge here for fine work. A very well done sharpening choil. Look how far out beyond the plunge that this edge is. It is at least a 1/16 of an inch this way, okay, beyond that plunge. You can sharpen all up in this thing and never get into that plunge. Fantastic. We got some jimping here on the back of the blade, and as always, I'm going to say it's a little too refined for me. The shape is good. Everything is good. Everything is good about it. But when they come back and they finish, the jimping just gets too soft for me. I want some actual tacky grip. Now, it does add to the grip, and it is well placed. It is far enough forward of this finger choil that you're not up in here and then compressed back to some jimping back here. You can lay out your grip, and what that does is you can apply pressure to the knife on this side of the pivot and on this side of the pivot. It gives you a great rotation point here at the pivot for you to rotate as you use this knife for different cutting techniques. I very much like that. That gives you very much a feel of control over the blade. You're getting out closer to the tip of the blade. You can feel where the tip is without having to look at it. It's just, as far as that utilitarian use, again, it's damn near perfect. Look at this handle. It's basic. The handle design itself is basic. The profile, you do have a finger choil here, but it's wide enough open, well placed. It's not restrictive. The rest of the handle is wide open. You've got the ergonomic drop to the butt here. Just great design. You can see the way the tiered machining is on the scales and the bolsters here. It does give you a radius handle. It's not a flat slab. It feels very much like a tool in the hand. And I know when I went over the numbers, a lot of you said, 670 thousandths thick. That's pretty thick, but no, it's not. It's a much bigger knife. It feels absolutely perfectly balanced between the width of the handle and the thickness of the handle, the radius feel to it. It feels like a sturdy, well-designed working tool. That's what this feels like. It's easy to hold on to. The grip is wide open. It's ergonomic. It will fit a wide range of hands. About the only person I'm going to advise against this knife is females, small frame men that have small size hands. I think your hand might get lost on this handle. It's going to feel really big to you. Now, is that bad? Does it make it bad? No, it doesn't. You may still want to you may love XL knives even though you got small hands. More power to you. Okay, more power to you on that. And this is such a good example. It is still, for those people, it's still worth buying in my opinion. But if you have medium, large, extra large size hands, this is going to feel absolutely perfect. It does not feel oversized in the hand. 5 5/8 inch handle length. This is how it fits in my large hands. Again, I have a large hand volume with stubby, sort of chunky, medium length fingers, and that's how it fits me. I'm naturally falling on that jimping with my thumb forward in this forward type of grip. Reverse, let's get this out here. I cannot rotate that big ass knife underneath my camera. Reverse grip feels fantastic. You've got a nice flat here on the butt to butt cap it in your grip. And that is it's just everything comes together in this design. Now, let's pull out some size comparison examples. The first one we're going to pull out, of course, is going to be from the company that really does more XL knives than anybody, and that is Cold Steel. We're going to line this Cold Steel 4 Max Scout up pivot to pivot, okay? That is the only way to compare knives. Line the pivots up. It will tell the tale. And what this is telling me right here is the difference between 80 percentile handle to blade ratio and not 80 percentile. Look at how long the 4 Max Scout handle is compared to the Goliath. Now, look at how much shorter the blade is compared to the Goliath. The 4 Max Scout, I think the handle to blade ratio was in the low 70 percentile range, and this is in the 80 percentile range. It is obviously giving you more blade length, more cutting edge in a package that is overall the same size. Let's pull them back butt to butt here. These knives are both 10 inches long. Look how far back we are here. Look at how much more blade length and cutting edge you are getting in this 10 inches. And you still have a big knife handle that XL hands are going to feel super comfortable with. All right, let's pull out another example here. We're going to get the steel wheel Plague Doctor out here. The Plague Doctor, not quite as long in the blade length here, but it is a little bit, it is just the slightest, maybe a 16th of an inch longer in the handle. Again, look up here. We've got much less blade length for the handle length. Not as efficient as the Goliath. All right, we'll bring another one in here. We've got the Boker Plus Salmonero Design Stingray, which is pretty much the same length handle-wise, but has a shorter blade length. Again, much more efficient in this design at 80% handle to blade ratio. And lastly, we're going to pull out another favorite of mine, and that is the CRKT Otanashi No-Kin, which is overall about the same size as the Goliath. It is maybe 1/8 of an inch shorter overall. Let me make sure I've got this lined up right here. It's about 1/16 of an inch shorter. I think that the Goliath is even going to beat the Otanashi no-kin as far as handle to blade ratio by just the barest hair there. Now, finally, we're going to close this up, and I'm going to show you something else that is very exciting about this XL knife, and that is the amount of pocket space it's going to take up closed. And we're going to bring the 4 Max Scout back out here. You guys seeing what I'm seeing? For the size, the longer blade length on the Goliath, it weighs at least, it weighs almost 4 ounces less than the 4 Max Scout. This design is awesome. It is awesome. Everything about it is awesome. It is such an efficient design in so many characteristics, from cutting performance to comfort level to the handle to blade ratio to the length to weight ratio, the materials, the fit and finish versus the cost. Everything about this knife is 110% win. As I said, the only negative I could say about my particular example was the pivot wanted to walk a little bit, so I put a little Teflon tape on it. Hasn't moved since. The action is tightened down. It is butter. If it's not tightened down all the way, it is totally free fall guillotine, and you better be careful handing this knife to an uninitiated knife person, because they will let it drop on their finger and they will get cut. That's a big ass heavy blade. So there you go. The 3rd generation, the newest iteration of the Maxace Knives Goliath Flipper Folder. I cannot more highly recommend this knife. If you want to add an XL folder to your collection, or you already have a collection of them and want something in a refined design, refined build, fantastic performance, this cannot be beat. I am not aware of any other XL knife on the market that is a better value than this, period. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch one of my videos. God bless all of you, and we will talk to you again.